Yo, speaking of that, are we drilling after this first? Because I kind of need to have breakfast.
We don't have to. It's up to you.
We'll talk after. We'll see how long it takes. Maybe I can test.
Cool, yeah. I'm gonna go make myself food now. But I'm gonna also put myself on mute, so just assume I'm ready. I promise you I'll be listening.
Okay.
Alright.
Cool. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good also. Alright. I affirm in value, morality, ethical argumentation to accept as truth, thus understanding what it means for an ethical statement to be true, consensual, consensus, and adequate warrant. We can only think of truth pragmatically first. All inquiry starts with the purpose. The ultimate end of thought is the production of belief, and the satisfaction of doubt. Ethics is the same dead practical and seeks pure thought is excited by doubt and ceases when belief is attained. Doubt stimulates the mind. Its sole mode of idea and function is to produce belief. Belief involves the establishment or nature of a rule of action. Beliefs are distinguished by the different modes of action to which they give rise. The rule consider what effects might have practical bearing. We conceive the object of our conception to have their conception of these effects is the conception of the object. Second, all reasoning is practically motivated. Always seek our answers that alleviate the practical problem of doubt. There's no way for the mind to latch onto anything more fierce. The doubt causes the struggle to attain belief. We may fancy not merely an opinion, but a true opinion. But as soon as belief is reached, we are satisfied whether the belief be true or false. Nothing which does not affect the mind can be a motive for mental effort. We seek belief. We think true settlement of opinion is the sole end of inquiry. And the pragmatic decision. Pragmatic theory spills over not just into the content of ethics, but the very modes of making ethical decisions to EA. That attainment of knowledge is the end of inquiry is a truism. Knowledge can only be a generalization of conclusions which are outcomes of inquiry. Increase the continuing process in every field in which disengaged attainment of settled belief is the effect of continuing inquiry that defines knowledge. Thus, we cannot just look at the policies best accomplish our purposes. We must construct procedural mechanisms for social decision making that allow pragmatic advancement and changing ends. Departure pragmatic theory, democracy to repeat. Democratic political forms rest upon the idea that no person is wise or good enough to rule without consent. All affected by social institutions must have a share in producing and managing the exclusion. Participation is suppression. Others who are supposed to be wiser have power to decide the question of methods by which subjects may arrive at enjoyment. Is good. The foundation of democracy is not that things are complete, but that they will grow and generate progressively knowledge needed to guide collective action. Democratic means that each shall have the chance and opportunity to contribute whatever she is capable of contributing with them. Them individuals are not free to develop, and society is deprived of what they might contribute. Thus, there's consistency with a pragmatic decision, democratic decision procedure impact. This is not utilitarianism or rule utility question. It's not a question of maximizing given ends, but following a certain procedure. The further implications of the links back to the standard should be subject to democratic form of particular variation. That you should prefer explicit and carded evidence that links often back to pragmatism because it's been subject to peer review and democratic discussion in order to determine its legitimacy. I defend the whole resolution, but I'm willing to specify further into The thesis and sole contention is that procedural constraints on a pragmatist approach to democratic policy require educational spaces for freedom of speech. First, the constitutional protection of free speech has been shaped by a long history of pragmatist methodology. This provides extremely strong epistemic grounds for maintaining and strengthening the procedure being an elbow of summarized duty. As framers wrote about free speech, they're working on a pragmatic response to specific conditions. Attraction of free speech messages to retain comes from awareness we live in historical conditions where free speech is easily abridged. In light of the Patriot Act and temporary government activity, Supreme Court decisions are about particular contingent historical judgments. The Constitution is grounded in pragmatic theory. The links back to the standard and precludes standard link terms given the genetic and historical nature of the offense to be seen. If we find a legitimate response to enduring conditions, we have reason to attribute worth that we find historically the belief played a part in maintaining integrity of social life worth is additional. Second, the applicant is necessary to maintain space for individualism within educational context to eat. The demand for freedom is the need for conditions which will enable an individual to contribute to group interest and partake in its activities. We said social shall be a matter of mental attitude, not authoritative dictation of acts. Freedom means that particularly by thinking, enforced physical quietude, immunity, unfavorable to realization of a problem, to undertaking observations needed to define and performance of the experiments, which has ideas, the cycle of self-activity, demand opportunity for investigation and experimentation for trying out one's ideas upon things, discovering what can be done. Certain capacities of an individual are brought out under the stimulus of associating with others, and a recognition of persons as individuals provides a powerful independent reason to maintain academic freedom. Intentionally, through such freedom can we respond with the needed flexibility to individual and particular persons. Restriction of free speech, neither particularity of persons. Phillips and Siegel 15 summarizing quote Dewey, a critic of positions not naturalistic comments to Plato's starting point depends on knowledge of the ends of existence. Plato had no perception of uniqueness of individuals in school. There, his under instruction looked upon as acquiring knowledge. Spectators, students learn by being active inquiries. Each student is an individual who blazes a unique trail. Is just the task of guiding without imposing a fixed end. That precludes all the valid claims that education must define some universal and the debate should pursue doing so is antithetical to recognition of a persons as individuals and debate in a space that morphs constantly in response to ever altering ends. Third, pragmatism supports freedom of expression because freedom of expression is the only way to have reliable and effective radical revision of society. Freedom of expression is the only viable methodology for social change. Law first and Paul 98 summarizes word. He changes the result of persuasion rather than force, reform rather than revolution. The best hope for liberal societies will foster useful redescriptions. Uninhibited free expression ranks among paramount paramountcy of free expression enlarges the horizon for redescription. Under view 1, history proves speech codes do not work. The end of targeting people they're supposed to protect straw 90 members of minority groups are likely targets of punishment. Individuals prosecuted under the British Race Relations Act were black power leaders to curb the speech of activists. Anti-hate speech laws have been used to oppress minorities. The And U.S. adopted a resolution. British students invoked their resolution to disrupt speeches by Israelis and Zionists, banning bigotry, let sentiments fester underground, and show in more virulent ways. Leak 12. You cannot eliminate bigotry by banning sentiments fester underground. Britain prohibited incitement to racial hatred. The following decade was probably the most racist in British history. Racism was woven into public institutions. Britain is different because minorities fought back. Speech codes make bigotry a free speech issue, which turns bigot into martyrs, glorifying their speech and ultimately making censored speech more appealing. Strauss in 90. Psychological studies show censored speech becomes more appealing and persuasive to listeners by virtue of that censorship. Britain began to prohibit racist defamation. This had no discernible adverse impact. Neo-Nazi groups, some believe racism is more pervasive in Britain than the U.S. Under view 2, Afghans, one-year theory, otherwise they can be infinitely abusive, and there's no way to check against this meta theory. Also perceives the evaluation of initial theory shells because it determines whether or not I can engage theory in the first place. One-year theory is dropped. The debate of the 1 year is too short to be able to rectify abuse and adequately cover substance. You must be punished. That also applies to case if I cannot engage your criticism. We do not know if it's true. 2, theoretical. They justified standards don't make sense. 8 point, they're infinitely aggressive. Relies on a higher level argument to determine the best framework justification to use, which in turn require their own justification, making it incoherent. B point, can justify your framework using philosophy. Theoretical justifications move 6 minutes of the AC. 3 point, epistemic modesty means we should use pragmatism. Only the pragmatist ethic can account for uncertainty of the external world. Law 7 undoing. The world of action involves us in activities that in no way remove uncertainty. Modern philosophy is conceived of knowledge as private. Philosophers strip away the imaginative and with sharp division between the ordinary and extraordinary animates how we see ourselves. The world of action is fraught with uncertainty or activity. It's one of constant adaptation and adjustment in light of the limited conditions of existence. Philosophy must give up on inquiry after absolute origins and fixed truth and turn attention to conditions of experience that generate specific values. If we turn to experience, we give up efforts to secure a world by means of transcending it. Our efforts are located in practical activity, not quest for certainty. That's it. I read everything.
Cool. 6, you ready?
Yep.
Let's start with the Dewey A evidence. It says we need to create procedures of pragmatism. What's the warrant for why we shouldn't focus on fulfilling the purposes?
What do you mean?
Right. So you specifically say it's not util because you're not trying to maximize the purposes. You're just trying to create the procedures for that. What is the warrant for that claim?
So that's the stuff about democracy. So that's Dewey A and Dewey B, which established that in a political system, the way in which we deal with caring about practical consequences is through respect for individuality. The only political system that could be theoretically consistent with the pragmatist epistemology would be a democratic one.
What is the warrant for that?
So do you want me to just go through those cards, because those establish why it's something about procedure? So Dewey B talks about how it's not just a question of the state being able to determine some sort of unilaterally important end, but that individuals should have some sort of say in social institutions, because that's the only way that we can have some sort of epistemic humility within the state. And so that sort of respect for individualism is what enables us to be consistent with the pragmatist ethic, and in which we look to particularity of circumstances, because the state is not making a unified judgment about
All right, that's fine. Is that just the warrant for the Dewey E evidence about why we need to have individualism?
No, I'm talking about the Dewey cards that are in the framework.
Yeah. I'm asking a new question about the offense. So the offense is just free speech allows people to be individual, and the warrant you just articulated is why individualism is important.
Well, I mean that's one of the claims in contention, but that's not the only thing.
Yeah, obviously. Let's go on to the first warrant. It says that the Constitution has been modified in the past. The Supreme Court decides what is constitutional, not what is ethical. Why is this relevant?
No, so the argument is that the Constitution itself was created in response to particular conditions, and that a lot of people view the Constitution as a living document, and they're able to make decisions on cases in response to the particularity of the demand circumstance.
But that's fine. Let's go into the underview. Let's go into the third argument. Have you warranted epistemic modesty? Is it if I do not warrant epistemic modesty, the third argument So you will not read epistemic modesty in the 1AR as an add-on to this. So you auto in the framework.
No, if you read epistemic modesty, I will in this. But if you
let's go into the second argument. What is the implication of reading TGFs? Is this a reason why they don't make sense, or a reason for why I should lose for reading them?
It's a reason they don't make sense.
All right, cool.
I mean the tag of it is literally TJFs don't make sense.
All right, cool. So it can't be extended as any sort of offensive interpretation in the next speech.
I mean, I could read theory if you read TGFs in the 1AR.
Why? This would be the theory shell, and you explicitly said it is not offensive.
Yeah, no, it's not offensive in the AC.
What, can you make it offensive in the 1AR? How does
I could read a new shell in the 1AR. Oh, I
Prep, how could you read a new shell? That's literally...
I don't know, I could read some sort of combo shell.
Okay, so it's only combo shows. You can't read this shell bad. That's fine. All right, stop rep. 301 left. All right, it's sent.
What's the order? Wait, what's the order?
3 off case.
Okay.
Can you label your offs, Parker?
Yeah, theory preempt, which you should flow as another off, NC counterplan. Everyone ready?
Yep.
Cool. First vote negative. I win offensive counter-tradition gets 1 year theory. Keep negative strategy up the RBA after collapse of the or substance the 2 super charge because no 3 means there's no true and has to be forwards and backwards looking, which all can be overcome or theory always means I already committed substance wrong, so then I can't theory can't equalize to this always equal probability. You can verify the piece after this round, which is the more things like chilling or hypothetical people and reversibility. Show tracks the dollars worse than substance abuse because you can be tech and spark and get a check back marginally so far arguments, but finding the multiple layers can't be checked back. Second, using reasonability, the right and left presence of a link and impact turnaround and a card in a card proving counterplan is in literature. The top literature proves that theory becomes frivolous. You can engage in substance benefits. Was frivolous when I theory, which 8 points moves 7 minutes anti offense, which I was on magic because you need time to make arguments. People kills education. This is the perhaps debate the topic, but we only have 2 months. Wait, while we can debate theory for 4 years, which means I outweigh in time frame now. And next off, NC, I go through ships like particulars, making up and I says universal species of agents. This normalizes a single experience, and this launches huge thinking. Mills of 5, right? Serious place in Israel realms. Fearing sectors reflect the experience of a privileged world. So crucial reality that we abstract away the impression the agent from future and the other recognize will be affected by social location. Not only theory next stage consequential instead of following set rules that are assumed equal playing field. We take steps towards social justice. The rule of balance over to the advocacy that has minimized suppression. For the standard for prefer first that anything else just intellectual analysis. We're talking about oppression, suiting cross barriers. 13 writes the exclusionary atmosphere debate serves black students from participating in attempt to win by rushing abstraction distance from the material reality that black debaters do with the everyday community knows how to get to intellectual nationalists to safeguard conversations. The only coverage strategies acknowledge that we all be oppressed and then all find strategies deal with the issues. Debate is a learning about environment, literature, potential seconds that means face serious collapse and consequences in order to explain necessary enables. Senate Armstrong 92 writes intelligence claim that by Mother Grass there's more reason to mow the grass, starting mower would enable me to mow, but not follow that I have more reason to start my mower. Since I have promised to start my ideology to respond that there's more reason to do whatever is necessary. The principles are very different. If I break a promise to necessary enable for two other people to keep promises, then give up the intelligent three. Key topic education. Most of the top literature is written in the context of what consequences occur rather than things like abstract ideals like pragmatism, which means that my emphasis is key to engage the highest topical arguments that are made on the topic now. Next off, counterplan text. Public college universities in the United States are not restrict any constitutional speech except for restricting campaign expenditures for student government, and competes campaign expenditures are deemed constitutional none of this under Citizens United money speech. McConnell 16 writes, Citizens United offers rights to criticize or praise politicians through non-corporations. Free political speech has become central Supreme Court jurisprudence where Robert's Court has curbed money is not speech. First Amendment has banned restrictions on expenditures that pay expression. The government expose limits on the amount of money a newspaper spend on quarter would be unconstitutional. Why should money be in a different C? Is the impact limits on campaign expenditure are key to provide equal access to student government access for underprivileged students. The staff doesn't limit these expenditures rather than allows them to. Universities take rights without spending caps. Election campaigns have become more than arms race. Each party can afford to spend a ridiculous amount of money to bring competitively students with a large amount of funding behind. Limiting money is that student elections means that students are forced to campaign personally rather than wearing out activist organizations pocket like this precludes the app assurance the app now ways first set involvement in student government shapes the decision that the colleges make. So spending caps are prerequisites to equal starting point of the discourse of the campus policies like the one C sets, which leads to the highest level of experimentation, which that the NCs necessary to access the best experimentation that the one C requires. Second, to absence of any events also influence on campus speech or often presumes that the university insulates basis for discourse, which isn't true in the if political organizations are made to admit on the process link turns all their offense at the highest level. Now they go for the argument that need carded evidence to turn the app. But first, that I have carded evidence. The university presented with it limits people, which means that it does definitely apply. Second, this argument is abusive as hell because it means that debaters would never be able to engage analytically against an unpredictable one. See, weird framework affirms like this one, or they would also exclude suppressed debaters who approved to not have a large amount of resources to cut cards every single time, which the independent voter. Now, the case arguments. Overview the framework arguments. First, the NC collapses back to NC. The most pragmatic. We have to establish pragmatic views to maximize the best consequences. That's the reason why our ethical inquiry starts in the first place. This is how your offense. 8 point said, your offense justifies infinite regress where you would set up institutions to promote pragmatism, but we never actually get to promoting the pragmatism that all your offense justifies, which means that you vote negative on the risk of offense to the NC framework. So people and procedures don't matter absent the institutions to establish in the first place. That's the first piece of that's the Pierce and Pierce have institutions. My NC framework is the most direct link to the framework. Second, that reject their epistemological starting point. I'm using their pragmatism instead of just find infinite regress, because you need a meta epistemology to evaluate which epistemology is best, and then a meta epistemology just zone infinite regress, no possibly to ground an ethical framework. Now, the line of the framework just can start in the Dewey A evidence, the Dewey A evidence, This justifies why political system needs individuation, but the NC does not justify the NC is not about political systems, just about student government, which is not just about which obviously dealings are often. Second, said that my offense links back into individualism because that you kill individuals by you kill people to individually run for government because they are excluded by corporations, structuring not individuals and our collections, which means the link turns all their offices to the highest level. Now they say I already answered the argument about empirical evidence, not the contention debate. They say free speech is pragmatic practice. The Supreme Court decides, but the Supreme Court decides what is constitutional, not what is ethical, which means there's no link to this argument supercharged because many conservatives think that the Supreme Court is that the Constitution is not a living document, which means that they just do what's done in the 1700s, which link turns all their offense proves that they are bad history. Now they say educational spaces must identify individuals in sort of first turn. I already crossed with why you kill individuals. Second, say individuals is not important. You can second, there's no impact. Individuals is not that important to a framework. For example, you can act as a unit which still coincides the individuals and just does it on a higher level. Now they say universal norms are important, but first I warned for why they say they takes out the role of God claims, but I warned for why this round specifically should be altered. Which means I'm not prescribing to every single person. I'm not saying that everyone should be applying this in every single round. I'm just saying that in this specific one, it's the most accessible framework and it's best on this topic. Specifically, say pragmatism source free expression to engage argument, but obviously the counterpoint solves the entirety of the absence. We do the often evident circumstances. We still allow this expression. We also allow expression off campus, which means people still get solved the way, which means I solve 100% of the AC offense. So only the NC turns are risk of offense. Now the underview arguments start on the first underview about reverse enforcement. All these first obviously none of these arguments apply because they're just about hate speech codes in general, which the counterpoint does not defend. It's about a question of whether if you're allowed to endorse it or not, which obviously any allowing of it, even if it's not reverse enforcement, force, or even if it's driven underground, would be a good thing because it would enable be able to engage and shift the student government elections. Three is you cannot second is you cannot reverse enforce this specific instance. That makes literally no sense because it's applied to literally everyone equally, i.e. every single person is not allowed to send campaign money. Now the underview argument, then the second underview argument, starting the TGS are infinitely bad. They say infinitely aggressive. First, you can just use logic to justify which TGS are good, like a normal theory debate does. Second, say you can resolve in other ways. For example, there are only 5 speeches, you can't infinitely aggressive that long. They say that they move C1 and C first turn. You can do first turn. You can do it too. You should have read TGS and want to see. Not my fault that you suck. Second set turn. My interpretation leads to better field justifications. Let's we have these field justifications. One theoretical traits suit. Also, my interpretation is key to avoiding things like unaccessible frameworks, like ensure check back abuse frameworks. What the theoretical justifications are necessarily proved to be warranted. Now, they say advocates 1 year theory because it's a possible job to go for both, but it's improving that. You can do that many times before. And I've watched you give those 1 years, and other good theory debaters like Ron Prasad have done it before, which means it's proving that you can only go for theories.
Okay. When you're good.
Yeah.
Did theoretical justifications function on a higher level?
I did not make that weighing argument. I didn't weigh in the 1 and C.
I want you to weigh now.
TGFs come first.
Okay. Do they function above the Smith argument?
No.
Like which? Okay. So does Smith come first, or?
I would say Smith is a roll the ballot justification, right? And it's just a roll the ballot versus theory justification. If you want me to spec, I say Smith comes first, then TGFs, then philosophical justifications.
Okay. Cool. Let's talk about the counterplan. So how does the counterplan work? Like they just get rid of all campaign expenditures?
Yeah. It's students are not allowed to raise money for student government campaigns.
Wait. So it's not a restriction of it's a restriction of raising money.
Yes, it's a restriction on raising money. Getting people to sending money would be illegal.
Okay. So it's just you can't raise money or send money.
Spend money, yeah, on the campaigns, yeah.
Okay. Cool. How would that help for poor students? Rich students don't need to raise money or have it sent to them, right?
No, you're not allowed to spend that money. That's the new University 16 evidence. We need to limit student money elections because that means they're not.
Wait, no, you just said the counterplan is just that people can't raise money and they can't be sent money, right?
I said spend money. Spend.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Let's talk about the theory arguments. So the reasonability bright line only applies if I just read theory against the counterplan, right?
No, I would say that it proves that you can turn the counterplan. So even if you read theory against anything else, you can collapse to the counterplan and turn it, right? So it's structurally fair.
I don't understand how a reasonability bright line would just say that's fine. Let's talk about this Sin and Armstrong card. So you say that means-based theories collapse into consequentialism. Why is the app means-based?
Well, I mean, if you're going to just be oh, we're consequentialists, that's fine, right? Okay, you can concede that argument. That's fine with me.
Let's talk about your response. You say that epistemology is bad. Doesn't the NC rely on some form of epistemology?
I would say no, because it doesn't start on an epistemological starting point, i.e., all the other warrants justify why, on a simple ethical level, this is true. But justifying a starting point of oh, we should filter all our framework justifications through pragmatism would be bad, and the NC does not do that.
Okay. Does the reasonability bright line just apply to substantive abuse or also to theoretical abuse?
What do you mean?
It just seems to be a bright line for a theory shell that's read against substance, right?
No, it still seems to apply to theoretical abuse, right? Because it proves that even if what I read was abusive on theory, you can still collapse to the NC. Right? Just ignore the people.
Okay, that's fine. Wait, the argument where you're this spike that you have as an independent voter is an offensive theory argument, right?
No, it's just an argument why, if you go for this argument and you're just oh, we should exclude people, that's probably a reason for why, the AC is, a bad thing and we should use the NC framework.
Okay, that's fine.
Right, it's empirical proof that the AC framework is, intellectual gymnastics.
Okay. What were the arguments you made on the NC for why the NC turned, or on the counterplan for why the counterplan turns the F?
So, warrant is that you assume an equal starting point for discourse, but involvement in student government shapes those decisions. The second one is absent spending bans. Other organizations can influence speech, which is not done in a pragmatic way. We're not determining what the best speech is. We're just determining who has the most money, which doesn't determine the best ideas.
What was the response that you make to Actis 1 AR theory?
It was just that you can go for you get 1 year theory, just the drop the debater argument. It's empirically not that you can go for theory and substance, which means that there's no times you.
Okay. Okay, 122 left. It'll be a new off. Then, but it'll be new off, the first off that you read, then bottom of the AC counterplan.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. Cool. A interpretation of the affirmative debater reads only substantive justifications for their standard and defends the whole resolution, then the negative debater may not read a pig about restricting campaign expenditures for student government and theoretical reasons to prefer the current reason violation due to all of this thing standard for standard 1 reciprocity. I have the reciprocity and time scale of the entirety of the AC, but you're able to narrow out of it and also avoid engaging with all of my substantive justifications. You have theoretical justifications also. You move basically the entirety of the absence. You read a super narrow pig just about money, whereas the majority of the absence about speech, which means that I'm a substantive disadvantage. I need to be able to leverage substantive framework arguments in order to engage in a discussion with you. Otherwise, you move the entirety of the AC. Also leads to times used to avoid discussion and moves clash with education. Almost as you question our assumption you vote or education is voter only reason that's postponed debate. And then people do it fairness, the voter constitutive obligations to vote for the better debate, not the better cheater, which you cannot do the round to be dropped the debater. I suppose no reader to read to be theoretically tell us theory. There's community interpretation is reasonable. Is arbitrary. Now go to your stuff. You say vote negative if you want a counter interpretation. One point at which deter people from reading 1 year theories and saying that, and then say just collapse and they can read arguments like evaluate the theory made up of the 2 and all that. Always everything is to erase the bottom and norms. It leads to erase the bottom norms. We will never check abuse, which means that people will be infinitely unfair, which leads to more structural abuse. You say probability. You can verify abuse around this argument. It's a clear structural node. You get access to MC theory and get lots of weighting and lots of arguments about time skew. You get to start the theory debate earlier since these spikes are bad since they're not reactive. You say reasonability, one point use reasonability in every other instance, then this will not. Offense on theory proves that reasonability is a bad thing. 2 point reasonability means the debaters can justify and fully abuse of practice and they will just lower the right line through. Also, you say that you say that 8 point stops and NC offense from being mooted. 1 point, you can read preamps to theory. You can read preamps to theory in the NC, which means that do problems you don't access there's arguments. Also, 2 point, you can read your own shells and then just weigh them against the one area. You say that kills education, so we prepared to debate the topic. No, if there's a better way in which we could have engaged the topics, then we should do that, which means that all of my education offense can specifically be leveraged against it. Now go to the AC. First, extend that theoretical justifications are bad since they can philosophical education. Since you can justify your framework. You can justify your framework in another way, which means you don't need TGS in order to get to your conclusion. You said that it means to better philosophical justification. If people will never read philosophy, key to education enables us to question ourselves to engage in critical literature that enable us to think about ethics. You now go to the reverse enforcement argument. Extends Ross and that speech codes will always be misapplied. You said that it doesn't apply since it hypothetically apply to everyone, but no, there are things like drug laws that hypothetically apply to everyone, but they just restrict people. They just apply to people of color, which means that you will just end up regulating the wrong people, which means that it will lead to a race to the bottom. And also, you said that there can't be reverse enforcement, so no one gets money. But obviously, people are deciding how they apply this law. People can go underground about the way they're using things. Now, the AC first over. First, extend pure speed that reasoning is practically motivated, which provides the way in which that reasoning must be practically motivated. This is not epistemological, but rather a question of what it means to us at first to have knowledge in the first place, which is a necessary prerequisite to any argument. Also, to say your theoretical justifications, since the most important thing is truth. They also to bind our action the best way. You said that it's about rules to maximize consequences. First, you can see Dewey that we need to that we must look to political theories enable individuality, since that enables us to find the best role. You say that it will be infinitely aggressive, and no, it says that and all individuals should be concluded, since that avoids a hegemonic notion of what the state should do. Now, go to the contention level argument. I will just go for Rosenfeld and Rorty. The only way that we can have radical revision of society is individuals have the ability to participate, which means that there should be no strong restriction of free speech. That takes out all of your arguments. Now, ways 8 point, the ability to spend on campaigns enables people's voices to be heard with any sort of political interaction. For example, campus advertising. Also, B point, there will not be any student government if there is not funding, since people will not be able to execute their policies or tell people about them, which means that less people will know about anything. Also, C point, the only way we can have radical revision if people are talking about things, which means that if there's any form of silencing that occurs in the world of limiting campaign expenditures, that would definitely outweigh your arguments.
All right. 17. So prep.
Hey Parker, can you turn your camera back on for everyone wants to see your beautiful face.
I know. Did you read any RBI justifications bad in the 1AR shell? Or you just read them as turns on the NC?
I read them as turns on the NC.
Cool. What was the justification for drop the debater?
That it sets a positive norm, deters future views, and rectifies time loss on theory.
Order is counterplane, AC, then the one in theory hedge, the 1 AR shell. Everyone ready?
Yep.
Cool. You can see the frame rate, the counterplane definitely turns to 1AC, extend the econo 16 money speech, which means there's definitely competition. They just drop literally everything on the space. You see in the New University 16 episodes that is key to ensure that there's equal access to procedures of discourse. You can take the first and second turn that this ensures this outweighs the interncy app because it proves that you cannot have the good discourse of the 1AC. We cannot have the experimentation of the 1AC because only the rich people are able to access the political world, which means that 8.8 is a piece of logic, which means that because we're missing out on half the ideas. 8.8 is it means that the best ideas are not chosen, just the person who is richer now. This outweighs your offense on a meta level. There was no meta weighing done in the last feature, which means don't allow the meta weighing. The TOR any meta weighing here is sufficient for reason to vote 8 point is that it just contributes to abuse, which means that outweighs your offense on magnitude because oppressed debaters or oppressed people already have a difficult time getting their voices heard, but if they literally are not able to access the money, then it just makes these questions worse. 8 point is they've conceived the argument that this is the most efficient form of speech because campus policies and the discussion of those are the most important discussions. You need to make sure those are equalized playing field while discussion of how much money you're going to spend is so compared to the less important discussion. Now, the AC. Start on the Strawson evidence. First, you crossify these arguments as a different impact. The drug laws argument proves that we enforce disproportionately to one group, but your inverse proportion does not say that just because it's enforced against black people sometimes. So my evidence says that would be a good thing underneath the counterplan because yes, everyone should have this restriction applied to them, which means that an instatation of a black person being restricted would be a good thing because every person should be restricted, a black person, a white person, an Asian person, etc. Which means your drug law example is not applicable. Second, that my evidence, my impact outweighs because the impact of being reverse enforced, I'm not being able to campaign is not as it's not as important as being able to get into politics in the first place, which means my evidence outweighs on triad framing because they couldn't be able to get into politics in the first place, which means the only campaign is a hope of getting them, while the reverse enforcement doesn't make anything worse. It just contributes to already abuse. Now, abuse that's already existing. Now they're weighing arguments. They say that enables the voices to be heard, but first there's alternate policy. You can just to discuss your policies without spending any money. Second, that this discussion is not done in a fair way because it's discussed to discuss about how much money you have. Points is you cannot be able to know how you advocate your policy, but you can just execute the policies. You're still allowed to spend money on student government. You're just not allowed to spend it on campaign finance. You're simply arguing these points allows a radical revision of these arguments, but my arguments prove that there's still some debate on the topic, which is there's alternate policies. There's just not debate in the context of money. Now, the theory shell, the one in theory stuff. They're way undercovering the RVI justifications and the justification that you vote against RVI against your argument because otherwise the 2 can go for either level, which always shows up the 2 They conceded the probability weighing. They just say it's incoherent, but there's no warrant. I definitely warranted. I said that you will see this hue in this round. I have to cover both while they're showing in fact it's just hypothetical, which means it's less likelihood probability always magnitude because it is empirical checks on this checks on this argument and also proves that we wouldn't care about vast very important magnitude impacts they didn't affect us. For example, there's a high magnitude impact of you drinking water, you can choke and die, but you don't care about it. It's probably so low. Now, they see deterrence when they are from being introduced, but impact on my interpretation. My model just means that you have to, the videos are so well, which is so bad theory because you can just win the interpretation, counterpretation, which means there's no showing impact, and if your offense outweighs the abstract, it doesn't matter. Now, the 1 AR shell. Counter-interpretation, often the converse interpretation. First, you can see the TGF is good from the substance of the ACI. It's key to check like abusive 1AC frameworks and exclusionary 1AC frameworks, which obviously always your offense. 8 point strength, like his argument is 100% drop. 8 point is 100% drop. 8 point is prevents people from even accessing the base in the first. So your theory shell presumes you can access to which one the TGF like good. Second, that picks are good. They're key to stable advocacy. There are many different types of restrictions in the status quo, i.e., speech restrictions on X things, speech restrictions on campaign finance, speech restrictions on hate codes, etc. Every single different culture has a different type of restriction, which means in the world of their interpretation where I don't read a pick, man, I don't read a pick, which means I'm defending it. And if you're not things that once you always shift out to 1 AR advocacy turn, which means it's impossible to gauge always their opposite magnitude, makes it impossible to affirm. Now, if I want both TGS and the picks are good, that means that the combination are good, and I should be able to read them in a predictable way, which means they can't go for arguments why they are interpretation excludes my interpretation. Now, over the interpretation. First, there's no justification for why there's a combo interpretation, which means all their offense is not unique. They just justify why TGFs are bad and picks are also bad, but they don't justify why the combination of those things are bad are uniquely abusive, which means that their model debate to justify someone reading a pick and then in one round they're reading a TGF in another round, which means that it violates all their offense and which means their interpretation solves 0% of the views. Second, I did not read a pick. They did not define what a pick was in the 1 AR show, which means don't follow the arguments in the 2 AR. In the 2 AR, the 2 AR is not a pick because just defines what my advocacy is. I defend only this thing, which proves the 3s that I've already warned why everything on this topic is fake because I have to defend certain things, i.e. certain speech codes, which means that your interpretation is obviously not unique and it's also solve any of your offense. Now, the reciprocity standard first turn negative flexibility long frame of justification in the 1AC and offense is very specific to it that obviously from the Supreme Court definitively ruled that free speech is a constitutional right, which means I need things like picks and TGF to warrant form back our framework to check back up use of 1C framework. Second turn, you can just concede the 1C framework and just go for link turns or impact turns to meet the framework. But that's a more strategic strategy because it moves the time most of the 1C offense, which means you get a 7-6 times. Eventually, there's no impact to reciprocity. It's not like across the argument on the 1 shell, the TGS route. That's not my fault that you were bad at strategy and you decided not to read TGS. And you were not decided to read a plan. That's just be a bad strategy, not me being abusive, which doesn't across the play. Now they're dropping the argument. Now they drop the debate argument. They say you should drop the argument. Key to substantive engagement. So they can see the good impact on the theory on the theory hedge argument because we to prepare debate substantive. We only have 2 months. We which offers a reversibility. My interpretation just says by substantive debate because we only have discussion. So, but it still triggers the RBI justification because it proves that you should lose for proving a frivolous interpretation. They say lose a positive norms, but there's no impact. There's only 3 people in this round, and I also appear that the people listen to norms because the people read RBI is good, RBI is bad, depending on time. They say it rectifies time loss. First, this non-unique already wastes time to you when I answer the contribution, which means it doesn't necessarily apply. It doesn't necessarily apply. Second, time loss is inevitable. They just always do things to each other's strategies, which means it doesn't to each other's strategies, which means no unique abuse that justifies this specific lengthy interpretation, which means often just make sense. And at the last speaker, error negative on 1 theory, the true gets new responses to my standards. I don't have a 300 response. Let's decide a theory by preventing any new 2 AR winning.
Wait, the response to norm setting was that there's only 3 people?
First, I think 3 people in this round, so no one cares. Second is that there's no impact empirically. Debaters just read what they want to. Debaters read RBI is good, RBI is bad, depending on what is the most strategic, which means that even if you win the theory debate, it's not going to say any norms.
Okay, it will be overview, then theory, and I'll be referencing the neg block in the bottom of the app.
Cool.
When you're good.
Yep.
I need to win 3 things to win theory. First is the drop the argument debate. You severely mishandled norm setting. You conceded on the arguments about why the RBIs are good. That norm setting outweighs its impacts. Since it outweighs on magnitude, longevity, and scope, which means that if I have any riskable link to norm setting, that outweighs everything. So, except norm setting, since it will more likely to set norm people lose when they read abusive arguments. You said that there's only 3 people. 1 point, the argument will be disclosed online. But 2 point, the argument will be put online. 2 point, I disclose all my theory interpretations. People will be aware of it. You said that it's not empirically proven. But no point. 1 point, people used to read dozens of operators in the AC, and they don't do that anymore. 2 point, people will be more aware and try to be more cognizant about having practices that they think are theoretically offensive, which means that there's at least a risk of link to norm setting, which outweighs everything. You said the only argument you have for drop the argument is that substance is more important, but at 1 point, if I win norm setting, then that means people will have less unfair practices, which means that we'll have better substantive debates in the future, but also, 2 point, when people are unfair, that base theory, which means that means people are more likely to read theory, which means that there'll be less substantive discussion, so deterrence definitely outweighs negative. are super heavily absent. Obviously, in debate, pick is a specific term, which means a certain thing. So, it's not a violation that he does all things. You said that you meet this instead not define a pick, which pick just means that you do not do the entirety of the advocacy. You say you define your advocacy. Obviously, that's what an advocacy text is. That does not mean that it is part of the AC. Also, you can see that the abuse has contextualized the interpretation that you just do a part of the AC. You said that everything on the topic is a pick. No, my interpretation doesn't say that picks are bad. It says that picks in this specific instance, where they're about campaign financing or bad. But no, 2 point. You could just defensively the status quo or defend an advantage counterpoint, which means that not everything on the topic is a pick. Now, the counter-interp debate will be super easy since you the counter-interp debate will be super easy. If I explain my standard, that means that it is a justified combo interpretation. Also means that the things that are worse when they are done together, which means that does not matter if people could just do them individually in different rounds. People could also read theory when they do that. You have not read arguments as to why your particular counterpoint are good, which means that you cannot generate offense on the theory debate. Now go to extend the interpretation of the affirmative debate only read substantive justification for their standard defense and he'll resolution. Then the negative debater may not read a pick about restricting campaign expenditures, restricting government and theoretical reason for further standard. Extend the substantive engagement standard. You don't have to engage with the substantive arguments in the you don't have to engage with the substantive arguments in the AC. You read a pick about restricting campaign expenditures, which is particularly bad since it's not about speech, which means that it moves the entirety of the AC, which leads to worse substantive engagement and theoretical reason for further standard. Means that I cannot leverage any of the AC. That's outweighs all of your arguments. 8 point net flexibility. First, education outweighs fairness. Do not do any of these. Don't listen to the net flexibility arguments. Since there's no bright line for it, education outweighs 8 points. The only reason that people debate, which means the only reason that we care about fairness in the first place. If we just care about players, we can pick a point that takes out all of your arguments. You said picks are good for stable advocacy, and that I am the one who baited unfairness first was no. But if you are not engaging with my app, then we will not have the best critical education in this specific round. Your arguments about why you have to justify why every specific thing that you did was a good thing. Otherwise, you can just do them individually, and that is fair. Which means that even if TDS are good, they are bad in this circumstance because you can circumvent the entire AC.
Cool. Good debate, y'all. So I'll give you some thoughts, Nina, and then Parker, you and I can talk after.
Sounds good.
So Nina, signposting wise, that was better. I see you making those adjustments, but again, the beginning of this 2AR is useless for you, right? You say there are 3 things you need to win, and then you don't tell me what those 3 things are, and you just jump right into the first thing, right? So I think it might make even more sense for you to just start at drop the debate or drop the argument and put the overview there that norm setting is the most important claim there, right? That to me seems like the most sensical overview. But if you do want to say there are 3 things you need to win, you should probably tell us what those 3 things are in your overview and then jump into the line by line. Does that make sense in terms of like functional use? So, I think that at this point in the game, you're only a week and a half out of TOC, and this is a learned habit. So it may not be worth your time to like unlearn the habit. But like you can save time by not putting that overview. Like there are 3 things you need to win in this round, or like 8 words you could have saved that could have been one argument somewhere else, right? And so that's just one thought. I think you're handling the drop debater debate really well. I think that you're leveraging the concession of the norm setting weighing well. I think you might honestly be over-investing here. Specifically, the norm setting link turn substantive education argument seems to be overkill at the point where there has been concessions that norm setting is the most important impact on this debate, right? And so you have to be really cognizant of your time trade-offs here because you have a lot you need to cover in this 2AR on theory. And I'll talk about that in a second when you get to other parts of the theory cell. But I know it's really hard to figure out like when is it enough to move on because you don't want to like lose on drop the arg, drop the debater. That would be like a really shitty thing to lose on. And so the natural tendency is to overcover it. I think you may be overcovering it in this round because you've won a link to norm setting. You've weighed that link. That's conceded weighing, right? And so the link turn may not be necessary. But again, I understand that that's a judgment call that could go one way or the other. So that's on drop the debater, drop the arg. On the I meet stuff, I thought the easier argument on the I meet stuff was a quick spirit over text argument. or the argument that you've contextualized it as per your interpretation was probably the right argument, right? Like, you're sort of making like this appeal to reasonability type claim, like, come on, we know what a pick is. That's like one of your arguments. I would cut that argument out if I were you, and just make it a formal spirit over text argument. Or just go hard for like the it's contextualized by my interpretation. You obviously violate.
Yeah.
I think that there are very few judges who would vote on this I meet with the amount of work that you did on it, right? And like, yeah, only the laziest of all lazy judges would like be like, yeah, this I meet, I'm gonna vote off this. And so, uh, the next thought I have for you is on the line by line. I think that there I appreciate the technical trick of Parker doesn't have like a lot of reasons why specifically campaign expenditures is a good pick. But I think the 2AR is a tiny bit new on why specifically campaign expenditures is bad. I think the 1AR is like more on picks and TJF's bad. Not like specifically campaign expenditures bad. Like you're making this claim that campaign expenditures aren't speech. And if that's the case, it seems like the pick isn't competitive, right? It doesn't seem like that seems to be like a competition issue with the pick. Given that you're conceding competition on the pick, it seems like that claim there's like inherent tension with the substance of that debate and the claim that the 2AR is making. Like the 2AR seems to be making a factual claim about the nature of the pick, but conceding the facts on substance, um,
Yeah.
which is I think puts the judge in a weird position. Because I think your best hope for you right now, given that you've dropped the like exclusion cross application from TJF's good on the bottom of the AF, your best hope I think is that Parker's offense is not specific to the combination of the things. He just independently justifies each. But I think that the way you justified it in the 1ER, I was listening closely. You like first justified TJF's bad, then you justified Pick's bad, and then you tried to justify why the combination of the two is bad. Um, but I'll upload this video and I encourage you to listen to it. I'm not sure it was a very coherent justification for why the combination of the two was bad. It was certainly there, but it didn't like make 100% sense. Why like specifically this pick is bad, right? I think the interp that makes more sense is just like picks and TJF's bad, not like specifically this pick and a TJF bad, because then that brings up the argument that Parker made, which is like I could have literally read any other pick in a TJF and met the interpretation, which like begs the question of abuse on the interpretation and like the ability to set norms. And I think that argument is at least affectively persuasive to very technical judges. And so yeah, those are some thoughts on the 2AR.
Okay. Wait, so what offense would you have gone
Um,
in the two?
well, you, I just so in the 2AR, you left yourself in the 1AR with a times claim, a clash claim, and what was the other claim? That was the one you actually went for.
Substantive engagement.
Substantive engagement, right. I think the decision to go for substantive engagement is fine. Um, I think you just need to weigh it against the exclusion argument on TJFs, and you probably need to do the same work you're doing. Like, I guess what I'm saying is if the 2AR was 30 seconds longer, you would be golden.
Yeah.
Right? And so given that the 2AR is not 30 seconds longer, because what you're missing right now is you're not getting to do some of the peripheral level work on the weighing of this impact from cross apps on other pieces of the flow. Like the cross app that's most glaring right now is the TJF's cross app, right? And there's like literally just no lip service on that. And so your only chance at this point would be the like there's no combination justification of his counter interp, which is a decent argument, and I would think long and hard about it, right? But I think you can make your life a lot easier and you could make your win a lot cleaner if you're putting lip service both on the link level of the exclusion claim and on the impact weighing level of the exclusion claim.
Was that in the NC?
It was.
Oh.
Yeah, it was in the 1N, specifically when he got to the bottom of the AF.
Yeah, I think I just missed that.
Yeah, and I mean, and really, like, I mean, Parker obviously missed the norm setting weighing in the 1AR, right? And so in really technical debates like this, like you guys are significantly above average theory debaters, and so technical debates like this, it's really easy to miss like really small things like this, and so that's part of the danger of having such technical debates is that if you make a single mistake, you could be screwed, right? But that's also why I think this is the hardest debate to execute in LD. But yeah, I don't know if you have any other questions.
Oh, do you have comments on the 1AR?
Yeah. So 1AR I thought needed to put a little bit more lip service on the probability argument on RVIs. It like seemed coherent to me in the one end, although maybe it's because I'm just an RVI hack. But I think that you definitely are leaving yourself short on that debate. I think the 2AR, the 1AR makes it very difficult for the 2AR to go for substance. And if you're gonna do that for yourself, ask yourself why you're not reading a second shell and a third shell, and making substance a shadow out, right? Like, I thought the strategy you leveraged versus Catherine was more strategic than the strategy you leveraged in this round. Because adding the second and third shell bifurcates the 2NR even more than you were currently bifurcating it, right? And it seems like substance at the end of the 1AR is functionally impossible to access just because of the RVI arguments if there's a good 2NR on it. And it seems like dropping the entirety of the counterplan weighing is a little bit problematic for you, especially when there's no defense on like the competition claim. And so like if the pick does 99.9% of the AF, then you get like 0.1% size of link on solvency, and that would have to outweigh the entirety of the weighing on the pick. So even if your weighing arguments at the bottom of the AF are true, like when you're extending your offense, presumably you only get 0.1% size of link into those weighing arguments, and that wouldn't outweigh the specific scenario of the pick. So all you have left is a Strawson claim on reverse enforcement. And I think the 2NR is missing arguments here, and the 1N was too. But like Strawson is like very clearly not about campaign expenditures. Like you're weighing, you're applying a generic turn to a specific scenario, and you're doing it quite well. And you're definitely getting ahead on the time trade-offs there. Like you're time sucking both the 1N and the 2N. But in terms of truth value, it's probably a silly claim.
Yeah.
So you don't have any game on the pick. The pick turns the AF. You've conceded that. Then all you have left is weighing that the AF, the instance in which the pick does not do the AF, would have to outweigh the turn that the pick puts on the AF, right? And there's no like real meta weighing that you do in the 1AR there, which I think puts you in a tough spot on substance. So, like, if you're going to do substance, this is a hard substantive debate to execute because there's so many framework arguments floating around as well that you have to deal with. And so, I don't know. I would always consider, if I were you, just like collapsing out of framework, going for the pick, and going for like competition, defense, or turns to it. Like, there's literature out there that says campaign expenditures are good. So yeah, I thought substance. I thought the 1AR tried to do both and ended up really only getting a theory out and didn't end up getting itself a substance out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Happy to answer anything else if you have any other questions.
Oh, was the structure of the app this time better?
Yeah. I appreciated that you took strategic advice and incorporated it. I think that that is probably the optimal length against somebody like Parker, who's a better framework debater than somebody like Catherine, right? But did you notice how you got to like at least waste 30 to 45 seconds of the 1N with arguments in the 1AC that if you had not included would have given the 1N even more time to just answer your F?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I thought that was a lot more strategic. I also think that it's really smart that your 1AC theory preamps are like the most reasonable and fair preamps. I think that's like a pretty smart way to approach it. I would consider, if I were you, adding in paradigm issues as well, like just straight up starting the competing interps reasonability debate. If like Jackson and I used to put in drop the debater no RVIs and competing interps in the 1AC, and we did that because like it just made the 1AR like we didn't have to deal with that shit anymore, you know.
Yeah.
And like the 1N had to show its hand in terms of how it was going to engage us on theory early, and then and I think you've acquired a reputation as a very good theory debater, and so most people are not trying to have theory debates with you anyways, and so you can take advantage of that and put in bi-directional paradigm issues, and then you get to and even if they read a shell, like it doesn't seem like you're the type of person who's trying to go hard for reasonability or drop the arg anyways, and so
Never.
yeah, I mean, I think that's something you should consider. You've had a few debates now where people have done it, and I think you're starting to see that like those are, at the very least, they're time sucks, and at the very worst, they make the 2AR nearly impossible because you have to cover so much. But I think that, given that you're not the paradigm issue type of debater, you could consider just putting it in the 1EC. There's no loss.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else?
I don't think so. What are you doing right now?
I was doing yoga on my backyard. But cool. Thanks for having these debates. We'd love to have some more if you have time. Yeah.
I should. I am done with break tomorrow, or like I go back on Wednesday. Probably have like more tomorrow or like in the evening.
Yeah, you guys should coordinate. I can't do today in the evening. I could do tomorrow in the morning. I don't know if you have school, Parker. Do you have school?
I have school.
Well, I'll be out of. I could do Thursday. The problem is I'll be out of music festival from Thursday to Sunday till Monday. So I could do like next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if that works for you, Nina. But I imagine you'll also be busy prepping for TOC, so I don't know.
I also like babysit and tutor after school every day. That's like a.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, maybe we should try to get one more in tonight if you're free, Parker, or tomorrow.
I'm not sure, but I think I'm like getting dinner with a friend tonight. But
I'm also on the flight tonight. We have a lot of debates tomorrow, too, Paris. Like, I don't know if I have any time.
All right. Well, you guys can figure it out. I've played the matchmaker, connected y'all. So if you guys want to have a debate, I would recommend it. I think that the fact that you guys are doing these debates now puts you guys in a better position for TOC than like a lot of people walking in, because a lot of people like the first time they're going to debate is since Berkeley or Harvard at TOC, and that just is like a recipe for disaster. So the more debates you guys can have, I would really recommend it.
Sure.
Have fun at Coachella.
Cool. Yeah, I will. Thanks for doing this, Nina.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
Cool.
All right.
Take care.
Bye. Thanks for judging.